Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I'm Sunny Pancholi, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with Leaders interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that are proven success formulas for many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge sharing community. We have one such highly acclaimed name on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Dr. Biswas. He emerges as a distinguished figure in the dynamic intersection of academia and industry, adorned with a wealth of experience spanning over 13 illustrious years and a doctorate degree in biology from the George August University of Göttingen. At the helm of the R&D department at Gaiagen Technologies, he showcases a remarkable aptitude for steering innovative projects, particularly in the realm of environmentally sound technologies, that is ESTs, and product development across domains such as biopesticides, organics, microbial inoculants, and pheromones. At Gaiagen Technologies, he, in his capacity as lead scientist in the research and development department, directs a diverse team of scientists and associates, guiding cutting-edge research initiatives and cultivating a culture of innovation. His tenure has been distinguished by a series of achievements, including the development of environmentally sound technologies and the implementation of streamlined processes to optimize product lifecycle management. Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, Mr. Biswas.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
So could you provide us with an overview of your journey from academia to industry, highlighting key milestones and experiences that have shaped your career path?
Okay. And also thanks for that introduction as well. So I don't see career as something with distinct and isolated segments with clear demarcation. So I think it is a continuous journey, more like walking on a path on the pilgrimage of life, rather than walking from one room to another room, crossing doorways, and kind of upgrading one's class like economy class to business class in airline. So I understand that is exactly what the society is selling us, and most of us are also buying this philosophy. But to me, it is more like a continuum of having no meaningful impact on anything in the world to having some and then having a significant impact on some things, people, environment, society, and even future. And finally, serving as many people as you can, as best as you can today, but without foregoing their possibility to be served in future. You can think about sustainability, even if that means by somebody else, because we won't be there forever. No one will live forever, at least not in the next 100 years. But as we know more about biology and nature of consciousness, it might happen someday. That's another interesting discussion and curious thing that I tend to think about. But it is not that I consciously chose any career. So it is, I simply kept my curiosity alive, which kept my passion to have an impact kindled, and followed it to wherever and whenever it took me. So what I'm trying to say, my professional achievements are only a spin-off of that journey. So I think it starts from personal philosophy, and that conversation, that is the conversation that we are having with ourselves every waking moment. So that's what I think about the conventional way of thinking about career as segments. I don't think it's like that. However, I'm sure that this answer may not be very satisfying to many of our audience. So at least I can try my best to give you some key events that shaped me into who I am that led me to where I am, that inspired me to do what I do, and makes me aspire to serve many more people in a lot better way for as long as I can. So it is difficult to select only a few events and experiences because what I feel that every decision you make in your day-to-day life, uh, even if that is seemingly insignificant, still that can have a gigantic effect, especially if you are repeating them. So what I will do a very fast forward at a hyper velocity of my journey so far, and I hope not to bore your audience. So I have spent most of my life exploring and understanding science, biology, that's the life, the science of life. However, interestingly, I come from a family, actually generations of artists. So I have spent all of my childhood and most of my life, I'm at painting, sculpture, music, and more, and still am immersed in such beautiful and rich atmosphere. Uh, but no one in my family was a scholar of science. Yet I have been a votary of science all my life. So I have spent most of my life asking questions. So when I was like very young child, I used to ask my mother so many questions about everything around me, such as tell me the story of the chair or the clock or the light bulb, basically anything. What I mean, like how come it exists, how it is made, who made it, why, and so many more. So I kept this similar habit even in my school days, to the point my teachers used to request my parents that if I can ask fewer questions in the classroom. Uh, Fortunately, I still ask questions as much as possible and do not accept almost anything at its face value. For example, uh, I do not stop at just reading the author's conclusion when reading a report or any article or any research work. I look into the actual data, the even the supplementary data and the annexures. So I have often seen that the author's conclusion may not reflect the reality or the actual findings. So you have to look into, you have to be able to see beyond the author's conclusion just by asking questions. And to see, uh, everyone asks questions as a child. No? It's not a groundbreaking idea. That is how we learn. But unfortunately, when we grow up, our sociocultural environment managed to discourage us from asking questions just in apprehension of sounding foolish or being judged by other people around us. I think it's very sad. Uh, the first key event in my life, I would say, that somehow I managed to keep my interest and curiosity strong enough to keep asking questions and finding answers. So I believe that is the most important thing that influences my life to the greatest impact. So I was born in Ranchi, Jharkhand. It was Bihar then in 1983. Grew up in Shantiniketan, West Bengal. During my entire childhood, my grandfather had the most impact on me, influencing the person I have become today. He developed the foundation of my character. He is no longer with us, but his teachings still influence me. Uh, I did my schooling at an exceptional school named Pathabhavan under Vishabharat University, Shantiniketan, which was founded by Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore in 1901. Uh, the interesting fact is that at my school, most classes were held open air, on the ground or on the grass under the trees, exposed to nature all the time, winter, summer, monsoon, always. So I believe somehow, my constant and deep connection with nature and life forms, like from grass to grasshopper, since early childhood, made me curious about life and everything around me. Uh, so that would be another significant event that shaped, into who I am today. After that unique schooling experience, I did my further studies at Vishabharat University in India, including a Bachelor of Science in Life Sciences in 2005, a Masters of Science in 2007. After that, I worked on several research projects between 2007 and 2010 in India, in Denmark, and in Antarctica. That's another story, the South Pole, no? All related to biological sciences. Uh, then I did my doctoral research at the George August University of Göttingen, Germany, between 2010 and 2016, with a full scholarship from the European Commission, again on biological sciences. Also, much later, just a few years back, when working as a product development and lifecycle management as a lead scientist, I felt that I could serve my organization a lot better if I understand what are the pain points of other departments and functions of a business beyond R&D. So at that point, I studied for my MBA and completed it at the age of 40 while working full time. So having a PhD in science along with an MBA that actually proved to be very useful later. So anyway, I was fortunate enough to gain domain knowledge from education, training, workshop, and seminars from diverse universities and institutions from India, Denmark, Germany, France, and Australia. And that was possible because of receiving various scholarships, fellowships, grants from different institutes across the globe, such as the European Commission, the University of Göttingen, University of Aarhus in Denmark. So that, again, I would say another fortunate chain of events that influenced my journey. Now, in my journey before 2019, before my current role as the HOD of R&D, I had worked in various capacities, such as guest researcher, junior molecular biologist, principal investigator at various organizations and different companies, ranging from universities and, like, for example, University of Aarhus in Denmark. Then working at Antarctica with National Center for Antarctic and Ocean Research. Then in India on personalized medicine, it was in Kolkata, Personalized Medicine Institute. So during these opportunities, when I served, I worked on various problems. Problems from deciphering the physiology of extremophilic microorganisms, or let's say developing diagnostic pipeline for infectious diseases, identifying drug-resistant so-called superbugs, including finding possible therapeutic options, or identifying genetic disorder in humans, predicting the effect on the next generation. So getting exposure to diverse industries and diverse, uh, you know, diverse problems, and of course, all of these are actually kind of fascinating, for me, because all are related to life forms. So that enriched my perspective on the importance of cross-disciplinary knowledge, and also knowing when to step in and when to step out of the way to help your team make progress and solve problems. So how to leverage conflicts of opinion and idea to gain surprising insights and many more experiences. So I think this particular cross industry and diverse exposure, that would have been another important factor or event that shaped my journey so far. And it's not like my journey, I hope, stops here. I mean, it's still ongoing. I hope for another few decades. Who knows, this conversation that we're having right here, right now, that could be another significant event that might shape my future and maybe even future of other people. I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
Absolutely, Dr. Biswas. And thank you for the excellent start to this interview. I must say, your career journey is truly inspiring.
Thank you.
So continuing our conversation, as the lead scientist in the research and development department at Gaiagen Technologies, what are some of the significant projects or achievements you have overseen during your tenure?
So I have been working with Gaiagen Technologies since 2019, and I love it here. So I started working with Gaiagen as a lead scientist, focusing on product development and product lifecycle management. Only a small portfolio of the whole scope. Then gradually, I eventually proved myself to be capable of serving with more impact and more influence. and kept on increasing my circle of service, starting with taking over at first only the mycology and microbiology section of R&D, and then increasing the scope to include the entomology section. So microbiology, mycology that deals with microbes, entomology that deals with insects, and then further broadening the scope of my service to include the chemistry section, that is actual synthesis of pesticides, pheromones, and coming up with formulation, that kind of stuff. And eventually, so I started in 2019. Then in 2021, finally, I took the responsibility of the entire R&D department. So that's how from 2019 to 2021, from just looking into a couple of products, that product development, then up to HOD of R&D in 2021. So currently, I'm spearheading the research and development department at Gaiagen Technologies, focusing mainly on environmentally sound technologies. So, and also like developing new products or improving existing products such as you said, like biopesticide, organics, microbial inoculants, pheromones, pesticide baits. Nowadays, we're actually doing also like adaptogenic mushrooms. I'm managing, across, or cross-functional teams driving process improvement. Primarily, I would say I'm accountable for directing a diverse team of scientists and associates, leading scientific research and development initiatives, streamlining process to align with business needs and objectives, and developing training programs, user acceptance tests, communication plan to introduce new functionalities and foster global collaboration. I'm also acting as a global interface for synergies, best practice sharing, and benchmarking. I can't get into too many specifics due to non-disclosure agreements, and also it wouldn't be ethical to disclose privileged information, but I can give you some general idea of how I am serving my current organization. So I will just give you a couple of stories.
Sure.
For example, there are few production SOPs, I mean standard operating procedures that people follow to produce the FG. When examined, we saw that it is causing too much of high cost of production. So that means lower profit margin. So obviously wanted to bring down the cost of production, but it was not very clear like how. It's not like I'm looking into this for the first time. Before me, people had looked into this issue, apparently without any success. And again, this is something you cannot do from your office. So I went to see the production process as it happens. I spoke to listen and learn with a few technicians, production manager, in person, one-on-one. I tried gathering as much insight as possible. Based on those insights, discussed with my team of scientists to come up with a few probable hypotheses. Then designed a few experiments with a team to check the hypothesis and applied the same learning in the trial production batches, like small-scale trial batches. So in 1 year, we were able to improve 2 production SOPs for 2 different products. One that reduced usage of one particular raw materials by 93%. And in another product, we were able to, reduce the usage of the technical grade product while making as the FG, the finished good, by 64%. So obviously, that translates in a reduction in cost of goods sold. So that was kind of my initial early days success. Later on, I mean, I think this is something around after 2 or 3 years maybe. So that's another story. So we have a product, that's another product, and it had a very good scope of replacing chemical synthetic pesticide. We all know like what havoc it can, do to our body and environment. So it was a biopesticide that was completely safe on the ecosystem, and even the user, like the farmer who will be handling it, the consumer of the food. So everybody can be completely safe if we use those kind of products. So there was one problem that the speed of action of that biopesticide was a lot slower than the user can accommodate. So chemical pesticides, they work much faster, like within hours you can see the effect. Biopesticides, they tend to work slightly slower, but it's completely safe and benign. So the users found it difficult to accommodate that slow speed of action. So what it means that you will continue to see some damage on the pest or the disease even after you apply it for a little while. Then you can see the actual impact, beneficial impact. So in this situation, so I mobilized a small team. Like we have a large R&D team. I picked some people with good potential and different mix and diversity with their own personal biases and stuff. So that's also another point. Biases can be useful. No? So I developed a very small team, just a couple of people, and uh, then we communicated that it's fine to fail. So we 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 allowed and ensured that the team got sufficient guidance, and I ensured that the team that they can design experiments with a high risk of failure without worrying about their KPI and stuff. So this is very important in R&D because if you want to completely remove all chances of failure, then there can't be any significant progress or any innovation at all. So, however, due to the freedom and of course the collective genius, I mean freedom to fail, and the collective genius of that small group, we were able to crack it, and the speed of action increased by 30%, which is phenomenon for a biopesticide, and you can actually it's noticeable in the field condition. So that would be another interesting way that I serve my organization. Another small story. I think we have enough time, right? So that's another story. There was one more product. The product itself was good as efficacy and level claim and all those stuff, but the production process had some lapses in the SOP itself. So we had around 30% batch failures, which obviously again increases the cost of production. So after working on the project for less than 1 year, we were able to get it down from 30% to 2%. And since then, it had never failed in any rate higher than 2%. So we got that batch failure rate from 30% to 2%. And honestly speaking, none of these are actually my achievements. So these are the achievements of my department. So all I did was try my best to keep my team motivated, then to serve them with guidance and support, and optimize the level of stress and freedom, and obviously protect contradicting ideas and encourage constructive conflict, so that to let surprising insights emerge. So yeah, these are a couple of examples. That's how I serve my current organization. Yeah.
All right, Dr. Biswas. So could you share some insights into your PhD thesis with which you have earned the honor or a doctoral degree in biology with distinction?
Okay. So thank you for asking me about my doctoral research, but it might not be very interesting to all of your audience. However, I will try to keep it interesting and short. So as I mentioned earlier, I have been and still am fascinated by life. I do not see any reason why life had to emerge in the universe, but it did. Not only that, it evolved to such an extent that we can think about our own existence and ask questions like this. So anyway, I started my early research during my bachelor's with pollen grains from flower. Then my interest shifted from pollen to spores of fungi and bacteria. That will be during my master's. Then to the fact that life exists in seemingly impossible places, such as deep sea hydrothermal vent, ocean floor, extreme acidic, extreme alkaline environment, sub-zero temperature. So I chose the subject of my research to work on a lake, not just any lake, a lake where the water is extremely alkaline and saline, often known as a soda lake. Again, but not just any soda lake, a soda lake that was formed by a meteorite impact, the meteorite impact crater. So I went there to collect the samples. It's near Pune, India. And I collected my samples. I took it to Germany on a full scholarship from European Commission. But my samples got lost. That's another story. Anyway, I got it back later. So now the question that I was asking and trying to answer were, what is the microbial community structure who is living in that environment, apparently inhospitable condition? What are the ecological important functional genes that they're carrying and performing the actions, like what's the chemistry going on in the lake, carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, sulfur cycle. And if that community, the microbial community, can they engineer their own environment? So what I did, I used a couple of techniques like, metagenomics, extracting DNA, RNA from the environment, HPLC, like analytical chemistry. And we came to know or came to learn about the whole community. Like we reported for the first time 430 different genera of microbes, bacteria, fungus, and around 50 genes, different genes from that meteorite created soda lake. And it seems that those microbes can actually resist changes. So if you expose them to slightly higher than normal according to them, and slightly lower pH, they will work with it and they will change the pH back to the normal pH range what they like. So they're quite, resilient in that sense. So we found out who they are, what they're doing, and also interestingly, how they're behaving and reacting to some changes. It's almost like looking into perfectly choreographed, dance. So the community structure, when you expose them to a different pH or different condition, they will initially change. They will modify their environment and then they get back to their original community structure. But one thing, the most important thing that I learned during my PhD is not any specific skill. Although I did learn a few, but it is very, the very understanding of how to learn new things. So that's what I learned during my PhD, not just any particular skill or technique, the very basic, concept of or very skill of how do you learn new things. So that was my main learning from my PhD.
That sounds incredible. All right. So moving ahead, is your interest in ESG and natural development of your flair for biology and science in general, and exposure to environmentally sound technologies in particular? And what explains your interest in corporate governance?
So during my undergrad studies, sometime around 2002 or 2003, I read a book by Rachel Carson. The book name is Silent Spring. So before this, I had learned about the environment, pollution, the impact on the ecosystem, impact on our health. That learning was just intellectual with some facts and figures. But this book did something more to my perspective, something emotional, not just intellectual. So just for the audience, in case someone listening to this is not aware of the book, it was published in 1962. It's a seminal work that highlights the devastating environmental effect of indiscriminate pesticide use. The author, she meticulously documents how chemicals such as DDT were contaminating the environment, harming wildlife, posing significant health risk to humans. Through compelling narrative and scientific evidence, she illustrated the bioaccumulation of toxins in the food chain, leading to the decline of bird population and other ecological imbalances. So her work was a powerful critique of the chemical industry and the lack of regulatory oversight at that time. So calling for more responsible and sustainable practices. She underscores the interconnectedness of all living organisms and the delicate balance of natural ecosystem, warning against the short-sightedness of technological advancement that disregard environmental consequences. So Silent Spring, that the book, it ignited public awareness and environmental activism, leading to policy changes, including the eventual ban on DDT in many countries. So Carson's passionate advocacy for the environment inspired our generation and laid the groundwork for the modern environmental movement, emphasizing the need for science-based ethical stewardship of the planet. So although the book was written in 1962, it still sounded dangerously recent when I read it. So I read it in 2022. The book was written in 1962. So what it means, that indicates that we didn't listen or didn't act sufficiently. And I wanted to do something about it. So that is kind of why I'm into ESGs and environmental stewardship. Now coming to the point about the corporate governance, it's again kind of personal. So it also started with something very personal. I don't want to name any specific companies, but I have seen people close to me lose money, sometimes their entire life saving due to fraudulent activity or irresponsible decisions or mismanagement or operation or something. So bottom line, people lost money for no apparent fault of theirs. ED and other law enforcement agencies, they are still acting on those cases, but the public lost their money, and the people I know personally did not receive any relief even after 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years. So for someone, it was their retirement fund, right? For someone, it was college fund. For someone, it was for medical reason. So these lapses in corporate governance are not some number on a balance sheet or income statement. So these are real people with real hopes and dreams, with real problems and challenges. I think it's very unfortunate and it is criminal to be negligent, especially when public interest is involved. I think it is difficult to remedy the issue once it's already happened. So it would always be better to do everything we can to stop it from happening in the first place. Identifying red flags, highlight them on the board, be vocal about them. If you lack any specific expertise, seek professional help. But it is critical to prevent lapses from happening because I personally feel justice delayed is justice denied. So I truly and sincerely believe that I can have some impact here by stopping such fraudulent activity or irresponsible decisions, mismanagement, operation, especially as an independent director. Not only money, if we are not careful, people can lose their lives as well due to lack of safety or environmental hazard, which can sometimes even extend beyond the boundaries of the corporations into surrounding area and maybe even beyond that. But all is not dark and gloomy. So we have seen a few great leaders who turned around corporations and regained, performance and trust for the organization. I aspire to be someone who is not just stopping the downfall, but also helping organizations achieve more and have more impact than they perceived as possible. So after all, prospering at the service of others, not at the expense of others. I mean, I think, in my understanding, it's a noble and ethical ambition for any corporation or even for any individual as well. So, I mean, that's how I got my interest first with ESG as well as in corporate governance.
Rightly said, Dr. Biswas. Right. So moving ahead, as an ESG and corporate governance expert, what values do you bring to the table?
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm flattered that you think I'm an expert in anything. However, I believe I'm a scholar and a student of ESG and corporate governance. So even after my PhD and MBA, I still consider myself a student of science and a student of business administration. I sincerely hope that I can continue to remain someone who is learning till my last day on earth. Fundamentally, as I said, I'm a curious person who loves to ask questions, find answers, and understand things. Now coming to the point of what value I bring to the table, that is other than science, R&D, and administration, I guess it depends on the board I am serving, the board committees I am part of, the industry, the stage or the maturation of the organization, as well as the scope of my responsibility, such as an independent director or executive director. So it depends on the specific situation. But however, I think that due to my obsession with asking questions and questioning the answers to figure out how things work, as someone with cross-disciplinary and cross-industry experience and exposure across countries, I can offer unbiased perspectives and unique insights to the board. I can provide an objective viewpoint on ESG integration, which is a crucial, sustainable corporate governance practice. I can serve by chalking out the best ESG policies, practices, and strategies, as well as with ESG transition. As someone who does not feel embarrassed for asking seemingly fundamental questions, can impact board decisions by ensuring that actual discussions happen before decisions are taken. And these discussions are not influenced by private interest, or basically make things easier for the board to identify even possibilities of related party transactions. So, as someone who has seen close ones lose their life saving to mismanagement or fraud, I hope I serve sincerely as an agent for bringing transparency and accountability as the highest priority and ultimately improving risk mitigation capabilities. As I was saying earlier, some aspects of the specific situation can impact the value that I can bring to the table, such as the board I am serving, the board committees I am part of, like an audit committee or NRC or CSR, the industry, like if it is mostly relying on operational excellence or focusing on product leadership or focusing on customer intimacy or a mix of all these things, as well as like the scope of my responsibility, like executive or independent. I mean, as an independent director, I can serve by helping build trust among stakeholders as IDs have no private monetary interest in the company, their decisions hopefully could never be swayed by greed or any malified intention. In brief, I think I bring unique combination of skills and experience that would allow me to serve as someone who is not just flagging potential risk decisions, but also actually helping in the board to make the best possible decision at any given time based on most relevant and of course available information at that moment as objectively as possible. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So, Dr. Biswas, as you know that technologies like IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, cloud, digital twin, big data, and Web 3.0 are disrupting every industry. So, what are some ways you want to leverage them in your field of expertise?
Okay. Again, thanks a lot for asking this question. I wish you had asked me this question early in our discussion. There is so much that we can discuss. However, I will try my best to highlight a few examples of what I think is possible. And some of these are actually happening, at a very small scale as proof of concept, but right now it's happening. Uh, However, I'm intrigued by the limitless possibilities that are likely to emerge in the future for two specific groups of industries. So I'm sure it will happen for all other industries too. But for me personally, these two clusters or group of industries are actually very fascinating. So one is agriculture, animal husbandry, and food, like one cluster that has to secure our food supply for a growing population while we are depleting our resources. That's one cluster. Second, healthcare and medicine, which needs to support an aging population as life expectancy is rising. But the quality of those extended life years, not so much. And I think these two clusters, agri-food cluster and medicine healthcare cluster, they're connected and can influence one another to such an extent that most people may not realize or even imagine. Again, that would be another topic for another discussion. So I can't discuss everything I want to here within this limited time. So let me just give you only some examples of what I think is possible. As I mentioned, one of the clusters of industries that I'm interested in is agriculture, animal husbandry, and food. So you have mentioned several areas of recent development in technological domains. One is artificial intelligence and machine learning, right? So what can it do for agri-food, that front? So I think the first one that is going to have a significant impact soon is the ability of AI and ML, machine learning algorithms uh, to analyze gigantic amount of data to optimize farming practices. Now, how? For example, by predictive analysis. So AI models can predict weather pattern, crop yield, pest outbreak, disease outbreak, enabling proactive measures by predictive analytics. And not only that, I mean, AI-powered drones and robots can perform tasks such as planting, weeding, harvesting with precision, reducing labor cost and increasing efficiency. That is automated machinery. AI and ML application can also support decision making by providing recommendations on crop selection, crop protection strategies, resource allocation, market strategies based on historical and real-time data. The possibilities are kind of endless. Another cluster that was medicine and healthcare. So I think uh, the fastest impact that AI and ML is going to have involve diagnostic accuracy. So where AI can assist in interpreting medical data such as images, X-ray, MRI with high accuracy, aiding in the early detection of diseases like cancer, Alzheimer's. So I also believe machine learning algorithms can analyze patient data to develop a personalized treatment plan based on individual genetic profile, microbiome, lifestyle, response to previous treatment. That is true personalized medicine. All this is something we will see within a few years or maximum within a decade. These things will happen. But I think the highest possible impact might be our ability to identify potential target of treatment and find new drugs to treat those targets. Moreover, I think AI can predict patient outcome, hospital readmission rate, disease, progression, like how it's going to happen in future. Why only talk about top of the chart technologies like AI and stuff? There are other techs also that can have huge impact, such as blockchain. So, what can blockchain do for us? It can protect patient data by encrypting medical records and ensuring that only authorized parties have access. Think data security and privacy. You can also think about interoperability. So in this case, blockchain can facilitate the secure sharing of patient records across different healthcare providers. So that will improve our continuity of care. Not only that, blockchain is having a significant impact on supply chain management. So it is now possible to track pharmaceuticals from manufacturer to patients, ensuring the authenticity and safety of medications. Possibilities and impact that all these comparatively newer technologies can spark are mind-boggling, and yet I think we are not being imaginative enough to use these techs to the maximum possible extent to serve humanity. That's pretty much it. That's what I think.
Dr. Biswas, thank you for sharing such amazing insights into different subjects. So this brings us to the last question of the session, and here it is. We are building a community of industry magnates. The move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. So what are your thoughts about these initiatives taken by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Hebel Mehta, and the team of World Development Corporation?
Yeah, this initiative to create a community of industry magnates with a focus on cross-pollination of knowledge, it's obviously commendable. Such collaborative ecosystem, it can foster innovation by allowing diverse players, universities, business, investor, and government agencies to interact and share ideas. This mobility enhances the transfer of tacit knowledge, so leading to groundbreaking discoveries and transformative technologies. By bringing together corporate giants and industry experts, this initiative has the potential to reshape our technological landscape, drive impactful innovation, and kudos to the World Development Corporation team for this wonderful, forward-thinking approach. Yeah, it's a great work actually.
Great. It was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that our insights will inspire future leaders. Thank you, Dr. Biswas, for joining us today. Wish you the best for future endeavors.
Thank you. It was my pleasure to be here. Once again, thank you for having me on this platform. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.